Okay, guys, so we are on percentages part 2. This is my expansion. We did a video on basic percentages to get some, more simple principles about percentages understood, and now I am going to expand on those. So these are like your level 2 questions. These are some of the pretty challenging questions on your practice tests. But let's see if you can hang with me on any of these, okay? So remember, I already have the answers all written out here. You have the answers posted in Schoology. I'm just going to quickly explain each one. But if you would rather have more of an individualized support session, come see us on a Friday, okay? Question number 1, we've got a monthly water bill, and the rate increased because everything in life always has to increase. And we now have a new bill, and it asks what percent did the water bill increase. So remember, for increases for percentages, we're doing 100% plus an additional percent. So 100% just means that you'd pay the same amount. If you have to pay 100% of the 75.74, that's the same thing as multiplying by 1. But if there's an increase, you have to add a percentage to that 100%, okay? And so that's why, remember, if we're doing a 4.1% increase, that means that you multiply by 1.041. So it's 100% plus the 4.1%. Go back and look at the percentages video part 1 if that part is confusing to you. But I just did process of elimination here. I took my original amount and multiplied by each of these percent increases. And for the percent increase, I multiplied by 1.041. This one 1.051. This one 1.052. Remember how to do quickly percent increases. And this one gave me the closest number to this one, which is what I was looking for, which is why I chose answer D. Note that it does say to the nearest tenth, and so that means that your answer likely won't be exact. Choose the one that's closest, okay? You're rounding for these, no big deal. Number 2, we have 1,300,000 units of a certain type of smartphone being sold. If you are interested at all in business, you will be doing marketing, sales, any kind of advertising, anything like that. You need to be pretty good at percentages, okay? And if you watch Shark Tank, you need to know, they talk a lot about percentage increase, percent decrease, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Anyways, I'm talking too much. We have 1,300,000 units, and 15% of the units were returned. Let's figure out how many were returned. I'm taking the total and I'm multiplying by 0.15. It's just 15% of the total tells you how many were returned. And notice how I'm writing myself little notes. What does your scratch work look like when you're taking a practice test? Hopefully it's organized. It has numbers. You have little notes to yourself. This is the number of returns, and it's each month. Okay, and if sales and the return rate remain the same, so this trend continues for each of the next 5 months, that means that we have 6 months total, because we have the same month for the first month and then the next 5 months. So I am multiplying this number by 6 months, and that tells me how many returns there were over 6 months, which is how we got here, okay? Number 3, we have 113,000 occupational therapy jobs in the U.S., and that number increased by 29%. Remember, take this number and multiply by 1.29, because you have 100%, all of these, plus 29% more. The shortcut way of doing that is multiplying by 1.29. Refer back to the other video if that's still a little shaky for you, but that gives us this number. And it does say which is closest again, so please don't panic if you get an answer that's not exactly one of these choices. Look for wording in the question that says which is closest, rounded, roughly, approximately, that kind of thing, okay? Number 4, we've got 200 students enrolled in an interior design program. The number of students is 147% of last year's number. Let's think about this. If 200 was just 100% of last year's number, that would mean every single 200 student was still enrolled. Okay, so the number would still be 200. But if we are using 147%, that means that we have 100% plus 47% more. It is an increase, so I'm taking my number of students and multiplying by 1.47. That is how we get answer B. Okay, challenge questions. Okay, the students that get these types of questions right get some super high scores. Okay, so stay with me on these and see if you can hang. Okay, the number A is 70% less than B. Starting with just this, I'm going to try and write myself a sentence or an equation. I have A is means equals. Okay, I'm off to a good start. 70% less than B, which means 30% remains of B. Okay, remember, go back to the video number 1. 70% decrease means 30% remains. So you have 30% of B, which represents losing 70% of B. Okay, so that's equation number 1. Very good. Number C, the number C, here it is means equals 80% greater. That's an increase. I'm going to multiply by 1.8a. Okay, so I have these two random equations. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do substitution, okay? Remember how A is 0.3b, so I'm going to substitute that right here. 0.3b goes in for A, which is what I did here. And you just multiply them together, and therefore, and it's asking number C is how many times B? And so it looks like I have C equals 0.54b, so the answer is 0.54. How many times do you have to multiply B to get C? 0.54. This is a question where you would have a box to type in, and you would just type 0.54. Okay, not multiple choice. Number 6, a number A is 100%, 110% greater than B. Okay, excellent. That means that we have 100%. When it's an increase, remember you take the percentage and add 100. So this is kind of tricky and kind of confusing, and most people will mess this up, but 110% greater. We are used to doing like 10% greater or 20% greater, which means you would take the 100% and add whatever percentage you're given. That's exactly what we're doing here, which actually makes this 210 in my formula, okay? 210% is what you multiply B by to get A. Look back to the earlier, easier problems that we did on the part 1 equation. Usually we're given a percentage as like 20%, right? And we multiply by 1.2. In this case, we're given a percent that is 110. So we're multiplying actually by 2.1 because you have to take 100% and add 110. The number B is 90% less. Remember, when we do a decrease, you focus on what is remaining. So I put B is 0.1 because it's 0.1 remaining when it is 90% less of 47, which goes here. And I can actually crunch this number and solve for B. You can take 0.1 and multiply by 47 and get 4.7. And just now I know what B is, so just plug that in right here, okay? So A is 2.1 times 4.7, which gives us 9.87. And that's another box that you just type in the number 9.87. Next question. Let's say this is the last one. This one kind of reminds me of Shark Tank also. So we have a wholesale price. You know what wholesale is? It's the price that a business sells to like Costco. And then Costco then marks it up and makes money off it and sells it to me. Right? Okay, so we have a wholesale price of $7, and they resell them each at a retail price that is 290% of the wholesale price. Okay, so that means that I'm taking 100% of the $7 and adding 190% to give me a total of 290% of the wholesale price. Okay, so I'm going to write that out kind of first. I'm taking $7 and I'm going to multiply it by 2.9. Because this is just a basic, what is 290% of $7? Of means multiply, okay? So it's not a 290% increase. It is taking the $7 and multiplying by 290%. Another way of thinking about that is this 290% already is the 100 plus the 190, okay? So I'm taking it, multiplying by 2.1. By 2.9. That means they're selling, or Costco is selling this to me for $20.3, $20.30. Okay, and at the end of the season, they discount stuff and they give major discounts, right? And 80% off, remember that means 20% remaining. Okay, so we're kind of doing two different percentages at once, and that means that I have $4.06 after the discount is what this price is. And so just be really careful about this because we cannot combine this percentage and this percentage. I think a really common mistake is somebody will take the 290% and subtract 80% and try and combine those. But first we mark up the $7 290%, and that is our retail price. And then after that, 20% remains, which gives us $4.06 after the discount. Thank you guys for watching so much. Again, come and chat with us about these more difficult questions. You did a really great job getting it through here, okay? See you on a Friday, hopefully.